the deputy chief in HR. He's done a physical agility, psychological, and medical physical. He's passed all of that. He comes to us from East Haddam. He has an extensive EMS background. I had mentioned before he worked for a private ambulance service, AMR, during the height of COVID. He was sent to New York City and worked through COVID. He then was at Wallingford Fire Department and then East Haddam. He's here tonight with his mother's here, Laurie, his wife Taylor, and his mother-in-law Jen. All came tonight to see him, and we're very excited to bring him on board and get him trained.
Okay. I will open the floor for discussion. Deputy Mayor Depot.
I'm just going to repeat some of what I said in executive session. The people of this community really appreciate our emergency personnel, fire and police, and I think we have a really great team here, and we're happy to have you joining us, and we want to thank you in advance for working and sacrificing for our community, because we need emergency personnel, and not everyone is willing to do that. So we, as the council, and I personally in the community, recognize that it's a sacrifice, and we want to thank your family. It's always nice when there's a lot of family support as well, because you guys also sacrifice having your, relative sacrifice their time running into burning buildings. Being an EMT, you see a lot of stuff that the regular people don't see, and I just want to extend thank you to you for being willing to serve in that way.
Okay. Any other counselor? Okay, hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstention? Motion carries. Clerk Vicure.
You, Andrew Badama, have been duly appointed as a firefighter EMT for the City of Groton Fire Department. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully discharge your duties according to the rules and regulations of the Fire Department, the City of Groton, and the State of Connecticut? Will you faithfully serve the citizens with honor, integrity, and to the best of your ability?
Yep.
Congratulations.
All right, and if Taylor would come forward and pin the badge on.
Andrew, this is your opportunity to address the folks in the room. So please use the microphone so we can hear you.
I just want to say thank you guys for appointing me, and I'm looking forward to starting my career here in Groton.
Okay? All right. Okay, we will take a 5-minute recess so that we can get pictures out in the lobby, and then we'll come back.
Maybe it's because it's cold out. We're gonna have a blizzard.
Recording in progress.
Look at that.
We got perfect timing.
Perfect timing. All right. Danny, you ready? Okay. I'm going to call the meeting back to order, and we will move on to receipt of citizens' petitions, comments. Excuse me. Receipt of citizens' petitions is a portion of the council meeting where the council welcomes comments from citizens. To address the council, please sign a sheet on the table in the front of the meeting room. When you're recognized, please approach the podium. Clearly state your name and address. Each presentation should be limited to 5 minutes or less, and citizens should, if possible, submit emailed or written comments. Presentations should be related to matters pertinent to the city of Groton. City councilors will only ask questions in order to clarify the speaker's presentation and can respond during the response to citizens' petitions portion of the meeting. So do we have anyone signed up?
Yes, Mr. Robert Hager.
Okay, Mr. Hager? You may begin, sir.
What's being distributed is a federal decision. It was in September of 2024, so a couple of months ago. A federal judge, you have 3 pages, the first page and the last 2. I didn't give you the 80 pages, but if you want them, let me know. A federal judge in California made the decision that the prescribed level of fluoridation in the current water of 0.7 milligrams per liter poses, in his words, quote, an unacceptable risk to human health, end quote. The EPA was instructed in this ruling to initiate rulemaking, i.e. corrective action regarding water fluoridation standards. It is unclear when the EPA will initiate such rulemaking. Additionally, it's unclear what actions the Connecticut Department of Public Health will take regarding such rulemaking while it is pending. It's also unclear if the Connecticut legislature will make any modifications to state statutes while rulemaking is pending. The second document I gave you is an email that initially went to one of the, it didn't go to the commissioner of DPH, it went to one of the associate directors, but she's not reachable by email, so it went to the actual commissioner, and I never received a response. So it's difficult to say that DPH may in fact have little interest in protecting the public while the EPA is making its rules. So it falls to municipalities in Connecticut to protect its citizens. To do so, City Council has several options. It could request injunctive relief from state water fluoridation standards. It could request assistance from DPH as what would be an appropriate course of action until the EPA makes its rulemaking. It could contact state representatives and senators and ask them if they had any plans to make changes to the current statutes regarding water fluoridation. Or it can encourage citizens to drink bottled water instead of fluorinated water until we have a better understanding of what is safe to drink. Inactivity is not an option. The recent federal ruling indicates that the current level of water fluoridation is not safe. It is imperative that municipalities act to protect human health. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is
Any questions for clarification? Okay, see. Deputy Mayor Depot?
My clarifying question is to the mayor.
Okay.
Are we currently following the Connecticut standards for fluoridation in water?
Yes, we are.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Piazza?
Thank you, Mayor. Do we have a current level for City of Groton, since we're addressing the City of Groton?
What's your question?
What's our current level of fluoridation in our waters?
It's
Do we
less
have
than
that?
what the spec is. I can get that. We sample, I think weekly, but definitely monthly. And we put out an annual report, but we're well within the fluoridation limits set up by the Department of Public Health. The Department of Public Health is the organization in the state of Connecticut that provides the oversight here.
Or though it's through the Connecticut Department of Health, is our level that's allowed higher than the one that Mr. Hager was talking about as far as
Don't know.
California? Do we know?
The DPA, the DPH is the one that sets the standard. And we are meeting the standard. Councilor Sheffield.
Yeah, I concur with the mayor. Over my course of time here on the council, I think we've been within the standards of fluoridization. There's never been an issue before, to my knowledge, since I've been on the council. I don't think we've ever had a problem there.
And this actually falls under the Groton Utility Commission Water Pollution Control Authority group as opposed to council. Mr. Hager, should he want to, can reach out to DPH. He can also reach out to the legislators and make recommendations that way. Okay? Councilor Norris.
I'm sorry, just for clarification, thank you for being here. Are you recommending that the chlorine level or fluoride level is too low?
Well, we're not, no, it's too high.
Too high?
That's-
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
This has come to my office, and then we addressed it, and then it went to DPH, to Lori Matthew, and I don't know what she did with it. She's the director at that level.
Thank you.
Any responses to petitions, comments? Deputy Mayor Depot?
I know you didn't provide the whole thing. These are easy to look up online and read online. So I do intend to look it up and read more of the decision because I find that find it interesting reading court cases in general. But yeah, so I do intend to look it up and read more about what led to this, and I am interested in it. I have no reason to think that Groton Utilities is not doing their best at managing the levels and following the standards that we have in Connecticut, but I am always inviting more information, so I thank you for bringing it to our attention, because I will look into it.
Councilor Piazza?
Thank you, Mayor. So my comment is, piggybacking off of Deputy Mayor Depot, thank you for bringing the medical part of it, being a medical person myself, and also having gone to a mission trip off the west coast of Africa. That was one of the things I first noticed as a medical person was their teeth. And it was due to high fluoridation in their water. So my thank you for that in the letter that you brought that. There wasn't anything about the teeth, but that is one of the things, the yellow at the teeth, which we even see in America sometimes ourselves. So it is something to definitely follow and watch.
Okay, anyone else? All right, we're gonna move on. Approval of minutes. I'll take a motion to approve the special committee of the whole meeting minutes of November 18, 2024.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Are any corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Take a motion to approve the mayor and council meeting minutes of November 18, 2024.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. I take a motion to approve the committee of the whole meeting minutes for November 25th, 2024.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. And lastly, I'll take a motion to approve the special mayor and council meeting minutes of November 25th, 2024.
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Are there any corrections to those minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. We'll move on to communication reports. Councilor Piazza?
Thank you, Mayor. Just want to say that my son and I went to the sub-vets on School Street on Thanksgiving and helped the many volunteers pack up the dinners for first responders and the vets and other single people themselves. And I just wanted to really give a shout out to those who organized it, and it was a well-oiled machine, and it went really well, really, really well. So I just want to, I'm thankful that I was able to do that.
Councilor Sheffield?
Nothing to report. I probably lost track, 'cause it's been a while, so.
Councilor Norris?
No, sir.
Deputy Mayor Depot?
Thank you, Mayor. On November 21st, I attended the PACT meeting, the Police and Community Together meeting, and I know last meeting I encouraged people to attend, and I just want to encourage people again. It's a good place to get a face-to-face with some police officers and some community members who engage with the police more regularly than other individuals. It's a good place to have more informal conversations and discussions, and even suggest initiatives to the police department and or to other members of the community. And I just want to encourage people to attend those meetings if they're interested at all. I assume that I don't know if we're having one in December. Do you know, Mayor? Because it's the 19th. It's close
yeah,
to
it should-
Christmas.
I think it's still on my calendar. Let me look at the calendar real quick. Pretty sure it is.
I feel like it might be far enough away from Christmas, but you never know.
Yeah, let me get to my calendar. That should be, I have it scheduled for 6, but that could be populated.
It's the
In
19th, so it's scheduled for the 19th. If you're interested in going, just keep an eye out on our website, because if it is canceled, the clerk will post a cancellation notice. But I think that those are valuable meetings. I try to attend all of them. And we've had some good feedback over the last 4 years that we've had that committee. So I also want to point out, I did volunteer again at the food box distribution. I delivered to 18 residents again. And for December, the food box distribution is on a different week. So instead of the fourth Friday, it's on the third Friday, because the fourth Friday is 2 days after Christmas. So if you need food for Christmas, the food box, mobile food pantry is on December 20th this month instead of the following week. So if you, again, if you're interested and you need food, if you are needing to supplement your incomes in some way, there is no income threshold, there's no checks, you just drive through the distribution site and you get a box of food, and if it helps you offset for the holidays, please feel welcome to come get food. There's always plenty, and that starts at 12:30 on the 20th of December.
And you can, you can walk through, or you could
yes.
drive through.
Sure.
If you can't make it and would like to have some food delivered, you can give my office a call, 860-446-4103. That's 860-446-4103. We'll take your name and address, and we'll get food delivered to you. I'm sorry, please continue.
Nope, and that's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, Clerk Vicura
Nothing, sir.
and Director Uhaas, anything?
Nothing to report.
Okay. All right, go ahead.
I forgot, just wanted to add that the city has a myriad of Christmas things happening. We have, so please take a look at our website, because there's too many of them to list. But if you look at our Facebook page or our website, they're all listed on there. We have the holiday event happening here with the police department. I think Santa usually shows up for that. We have a Stuffer Cruiser coming up. There's Santa Through the City coming up, where Santa goes through the city. So I just want to encourage people to check out our website and our Facebook page for all of those holiday events, because there are several of them, and they're very fun.
Yeah, I'm pulling this up. So upcoming events, December 4th, Holiday Light Trail launches. December 5th, the Groton City Police Department Annual Holiday Festival. December 8th, Groton City Police Department Stuff Cruiser. December 8th, Winter Pop-Up Market. And then December 14th, Santa in the City. So those are some events that will be coming up in the future. Okay, moving on to committee referrals. Are there any committee referrals? Okay, hearing none, we'll continue on. Deputy Mayor Depot, we're moving to 155. Yes, ma'am.
Resolution R-24-12-155. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council initially approve an ordinance approving the revisions to the existing rate schedule for all sewer service located within the city of Groton service territory, billed on and after February 1st, 2025, billed on and after February 1st, 2026, and billed on and after February 1st, 2027, and furthermore, that effective February 1st, 2025, this supersedes all previous sewer rate ordinances. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is discussed at the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Counselor Sheffield.
Can this ordinance be, again, revised if the financial projections don't come to what we hope, based upon, from what I saw, just changing economic conditions by chance to where we're not bringing in the revenue we hope to, regarding these rate increases, or is that solid
So-
for 3 years?
Well, what we're looking to approve is a rate track for 3 years, but at any time, it can go before the Groton Utilities Commission for review and analysis, and then, if need be, adjustment and approval, and then bring it back to the council.
Yeah, because, as I said, my concern is, things may change after, the new administration comes in and, looking at the inflation and so forth, I think, we might be in for a bumpy ride, and we hope it doesn't, but, things could happen to where,
Well, we monitor finances every month.
okay,
So,
okay.
any other questions or comments? Counselor Piazza?
Thank you, Mayor. So I know when we did this discussion, and there was the average of 300 cubic foot, and it talks about it here, the first 300. Is that the average for residents, the 5/8 inch, or is that for average for all of these meter sizes?
That's it. Do you want to answer?
That was just for the residential. When they were talking about the average, they were using that 500 highlighted line when the mark came back with like 450 was around the average, but that was just for the residential with the 5/8.
Okay, and you said about 450, but we're going by the first 300, and then it's going to be higher, anything thereover would be higher,
For
right?
the consumption piece, right.
Right. So, I mean, I do have a concern. I mean, I understand the level and so forth and everybody else, but, I mean, since I've been on council, this is my second run-through, is that there was we started with the sewer rates long ago before I came, and then there was already a rise before I came in, and I voted against it for another rise, and here we are again. And, we're always coming to the table that there's always increases, and I'm thankful for Groton Utilities, but I just think it just appears to me to be, when you look at the chart, it just seems to be focused on the residents. And do we have how much more the commercial from 3/4 inch all the way through is? If their average is about 300, do we have an average of what these other meter sizes are using? Are they higher?
I would imagine from a consumption that they would be higher being in a commercial or an industrial setting. I don't have that here. We always, when we do the rate studies, we focus on the residential. That is the biggest population and the most affected. So that's kind of where the focus is always on the residential ones. So I don't have what the usage is for those
Okay.
commercial and the other size meters.
So it's the biggest population, but is it the biggest consumer per se, that, they're not using as much cubic foot as commercial people are, I'm assuming?
Yeah, Aaron would know that. I don't know that offhand.
Yeah, because I think in
Well-
our discussion, I heard that when we were looking at this, we're not rising on the commercial, but we're, what I was hearing, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but that it was more for the focus of rising our reserve and the monies that we need, so we don't fall into the red. That's what I basically heard. And I'm just trying to wrap my head around why the focus is so much on the residential. I looked at my bill and some other people's bills, and they were nowhere near 300. They're like, even in non-gardening times, and pool, no pool, non-gardening, gardening, and they were much higher than 300. I don't understand why we're going as low as 300. Last time I believe we went 700. but they were averaging about 700 to 900 on even winter months where you wouldn't be using as much water. And there wasn't, you know, I asked a couple questions like, did you have visitors? Was there family coming? And it wasn't. And that was just basically their average, anywhere between a family of 3 to a family of 5. So therefore, I see that their bill will be higher, even though somebody had rounded it out and said it was going to be $1. It doesn't really come out to that when you have that average, you know. And I'm looking at people who are average residential. I didn't capture the whole group, but, you know.
Well, so let's talk about industrial customers. We have 2 industrial customers, right? Right? We do. We have 2 industrial customers. So I don't know if the water usage from the industrial customers is greater than, equal to, or less than all the residents combined. There's a larger number of residents than there are commercial and industrial customers, if you look at pure numbers. But the industrial users tend to use a lot more water. And then after that, the commercial entities would use more. But if you think about how many businesses we have, we still only have a couple to a few handfuls of commercial customers. So any change that we're gonna have is going to be seen by the residential, because we have a much larger number.
Right, and I hear what you're saying. We're saying there's a much larger number, a larger population, but we want to focus on the usage, which is the average of 300, which it wasn't the last time. And so we're looking at a larger population. We're not looking at usage. If industrial is at 1,500 cubic foot, I just don't know why they're not being captured in this, especially commercial. The 1, 2, 3, 4, the next 4 have no rate hike at all. And I was telling people they need to come to the meeting and try to understand this and capture it so they understand, because this is your bill, this is what you're being charged, and to really learn about it and understand why it is. And also, if you have something to say, to come say something about it, because the people can change things. So it's just myself as a counselor, myself as a citizen, and myself talking to other people. And I'm just really trying to wrap my head around, like, there's a focus on it. So to me, if we're going by cubic foot, we need to look at the consumption of those who are using them more and capture them also in the rate hikes. That's my summary.
Okay, I'll turn over to Deputy Mayor Depot, and if she doesn't address what I think she'll address, I will address it.
Well, I know, from a finance perspective, I just want to clarify some of that. Because I know that I asked in the committee the whole meeting how many people use some of these size pipes, and some of them is 0. So some of them we don't have any customers using, like I think 3-inch was one that I specifically asked. And we have 0 customers using that one, correct? Or there was one that I asked so there aren't very many customers using some of those ones in the middle sizes, correct?
Yeah, and I believe that's why, if on the presentation on page 13, it shows the percent increases across the board. And if you recall, when Mark was going through the cost of service presentation, that meter charge was for the cost of the lines. And they're trying to get that in line with the cost of service. Some of those meters were already in line and some were below. So we're trying to bring the ones that were below up to where they should be. They're still gonna see an increase on their consumption, because we went to that tiered rate, where the first 300, that rate was the same as it was previously, and then at over 300 is gonna be the new rate. So that even if their meter did not change and they're using over 300 cubic feet, they will have a rate change. So again, if we look at page 13, this is where Mark kind of put the percentages when he said that there was the 7.3% increase, but the residential is only seeing the 4.8. The 1 meter is a 3.9, but when you go up to the 10-inch meter or larger, it's a 9.1%. So there are changes across all meter sizes, if that helps.
So where do we get our revenue from? The majority of our revenue does not come from the sale of water. It comes from the meter. So the meter's where you're getting the large majority of your revenue, and then the water usage, and that's why they picked the 300, is, if you're there, then you're gonna pay a rate, and then once you go above that, then you're gonna go to a different rate. Now, we don't have a multi-tiered rate. We can look at that in the future, but right now, what we have is we added this new tiered rate. So, Deputy Mayor Depot, you had a comment?
Yeah, just a few more questions for the finance director. So I think the philosophy here is we only have a few industrial customers. We have a handful of small commercial customers. So if we put the increase on their delivery rate, so the cost of service, that initial rate, our recovery on that is not very high because it's less customers. Whereas if we increase it 50 cents per customer on the regular customer, the average homeowner, we've got thousands of them, that is a lower rate of recovery because the industrial customers are paying more for all the water that they use. Right? It's because of that disproportionateness of the number of customers that it makes more sense to increase the cost after 300 because that hits the industrial customers more, and in the end increases our revenues from the industrial and larger commercial customers than increase per household, right? Because I think I feel like that's where there is some confusion because we are increasing the residential cost by a little bit, but the cost of service to industries might not be going up a ton on every meter. One, because we don't have very many customers on a lot of those meters, and two, because they're already paying a high rate for their cost of service, but also because they use so much more water that increasing their rate by 10 cents or whatever the difference is going to increase revenue from those customers much more than all of the residential customers.
Right.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and like I said, the biggest thing where there was some meters that didn't see that service charge rate change was because when we did that, the current service charge and what Mark came up with, that he feels that this should be their charge, they're already paying the correct or above meter charges, so therefore there was no change to adjust it. It's just the ones that were below the market that we're trying to move up. And then like the deputy said, with the block rate, it will have a larger effect on the higher discharge customers that come back into the system.
And the 300 that's not the average usage.
No, that's just where the block rate changed at the 300. The average usage, what we normally use, is the 500, and I believe when Mark was going through the presentation, it said it may be like the 450 or the 5, but the 5 is usually the baseline that we use as a comparison.
And why did they pick the 300 number, do you know? Was it just they moved the math to find where it made sense?
Because historically there wasn't the 2 blocks, it was just the 1. So it was to try to have, and I'd have to kind of refer this back to Mark on where that 300 came from. I think, but I'm guessing it was just to get that block rate in and kind of give that first 300 the same rate, and then once it got above that, it would change to the new rate. And then it also affects the deduct meters, as he went through in his presentation about what rate would get credited for on deduct meters. So that will also affect it.
You know, when Mark was given the brief to me, this is a new, the 2-tier is something new that is now becoming industry standard. And this is why we're going to this, is because we haven't done it this way before. So it is going. And going back to your point, for the larger use customers, you're making your money on the volume. For the lower use customers, you're making your money on the meters, right? right? Because they're gonna use a certain amount, but your, most residential users aren't using 1,000, 10,000 cubic feet, right? So go ahead, please.
And are the utility commission meetings recorded?
Yes,
So I've attended some utility commission meetings, and for these types of things, the utility commission has members that are way more well-versed in all of this than I am personally. And sometimes they ask questions that kind of get you to these questions faster. So I also would encourage all the counselors, if you haven't watched a utility commission meeting or been to one, to watch one, especially when they talk about the rate changes, because they do ask a lot of questions and they are knowledgeable, all the commission members. So I would just encourage that, because it has made me kind of dig on different things, like when they'll ask a question. I think it's helpful when we come here to make decisions. It has been helpful to have attended some commission meetings.
I also had Maureen French send the council the recorded session of Mark Beauchamp when he did the presentation for the Groton Utilities Commission, because he goes into much more detail there, whereas it's a higher level review with the council. Deputy Mayor Dixon.
Sorry, I just want to make one more comment. I think from my perspective, obviously no one likes increases, but the cost of running a utility is never going to go down. It's never going to get cheaper. I think the balance is, how do we keep the rate reasonable for the residents and still attractive to businesses to stay here, and balancing the needs of the business with the needs of the residents. And I think that's why our job is difficult, because we do have the ability after committee of the whole to ask questions, or at the committee of the whole, and even afterwards to email and ask more clarifying questions, so that we can have that presented and have those answers. I know that I feel like when I vote, I have to be able to explain why I'm voting the way I'm voting. And for the utility, looking at the business numbers, obviously we have to be sustainable. And as Councilor Sheffield said, we're kind of going into possibly a volatile climate. So to me, to be hesitant to do the increases and not have enough cash to run the business, especially the way we have it, the sewer in particular, money that comes into sewer can only be spent on sewer now, the way we have it separated out. So it's not like the electricity funds can kind of be, we can use those to offset other costs, because within the utility, there's much more flexibility in the electrical arena than there is in sewer and water. It's regulated differently. So I think it's important to understand that, because if we don't increase it and then we don't have the money to maintain the sewer department, then we're gonna run into issues.
Right, money made in sewer has to go to sewer. That's part of the Connecticut General Statute. And that's covered under the the Water Pollution Control Authority. Any, Councilor Norris?
If I may. I don't know if I heard an answer. Why was 300 cubic feet chosen versus 500?
That, I'm not sure why that number was chosen. And I don't know if that was because this is the first time we're going to a tiered rate, that was the number. I honestly don't know the reason why that number was selected and not the average that it was.
Well, and I don't remember him saying why, and when I got my brief, but I think he may have run 300, 400, 500, did the mathematic modeling to see where the most benefit would be. I don't know that, because I don't remember him discussing why 300 was chosen.
Because I'm wondering, you are capturing more people or more households with 300. So it would be really interesting to see the actual dollars or the revenue that would be collected based on 300, 400, 500, and then to potentially say, well, can any, I get what you're saying about deviations on residents and industrial, all that kind of wonderful stuff. But it would be really interesting to see what the actual numbers were, including the industrial and commercial, and potentially say, hey, there could be 0.04 of this that could have been attached to, let's say, commercial, and get, or 0.01, and still get the same dollar capture by raising it to the first 450. I mean, so it's hard to, if you don't have all the data, it's really hard to see, does 300 make sense? Because I'm assuming, and I don't know, if the average I heard was 500, does that mean like close to 70% is going to be 300? I guess that's what I'm trying to say.
and I'm not
So
sure the answer to that.
at 300, you're capturing like most of the city. And I guess that's where it would be interesting to see what those numbers are. But I get it. We got to do what we have to do, but I do get it.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Depot?
So, correct me if I'm wrong, but the Utility Commission has already voted on this rate schedule.
That's correct, it was unanimous.
So, in the future, if council was interested in getting the math or the numbers before the rate schedule was voted on by the Utility Commission, we could ask for the presentation when the Utility Commission gets it as well, correct?
Correct, but that's, so the presentation that the Utility Commission received was sent to council by Marine. So you could see I'm pretty sure the handout was passed on, and the link to the meeting was passed on. So all that information was available to council in preparation for Mark's brief to the council when he did his presentation to the council.
Because I do think that it would be interesting to see the varying numbers, because I'm sure that because I think he did say that they just did math with different numbers, and the 300 is what worked out to make the percentage increases on each customer make sense. I do think it would be interesting to see the data, but the way that it works with consultants and all of that, I think it only makes sense to ask for that information before the Utility Commission votes on it. Otherwise, we're making staff do work after the fact, and unnecessarily so, if we've already voted on it. But I do think in the future, I know I try to attend as many commission meetings as I can, and I try to, I know I requested, there was a planning and zoning presentation I couldn't attend, and so I just contacted planning and zoning and asked them to send it to me, and they sent me the recording of it. So I think that for these topics that are super important and sensitive, I think these questions are good, but I think the time to ask them has passed.
Councilor Norris?
I agree. Understanding minutes in the recording, but do we get the exact same information than what the commission gets?
For the most part, yes.
Because I'm surprised no one in the commission said, what's the numbers for the first 400 or the first 500? I'm just asking, but we can move on. I'm just curious.
Do you have a response?
Unfortunately, I was not at that meeting, so I'm not sure what had happened, but.
Okay, Councilor Piazza?
Just a couple comments. So I think 300 what I'm hearing sounds like it's just capturing, we're just gonna grab this number because it's gonna hit more people, so therefore it's gonna get us to the revenue that it is. So that's absolutely correct. That's the bottom line to me. Secondly, one of the things is, like, when it was presented, I did listen to it. The main thing I heard was as far as the revenue, but also I heard chemicals are increasing in price. That's another thing I keyed into. And the other thing was, what was the other thing? It's kind of slipped my mind. But still with it, all said. And as far as asking questions and so forth, I understand that, but it is presented it to us here, because once the data's presented, and if I'm going off, if that's the first time I hear it, because I haven't been able to go to the meeting, even though I looked at the part of the video, I wasn't able to look at all of it, that when I start capturing citizens within Groton and then do my due diligence, my own and other people, I still feel that it's applicable to still ask questions and comments here at this meeting. I don't think it's a waste of time, and I think it's a right that we ask, especially for our citizens.
Okay. Deputy Mayor.
Can I address that? I was not saying it's a waste of time to ask questions. I think that if we wanted to make changes to the rate schedule potentially, which I think that's where those questions would lead, doing it once it already gets here, because of the way the policy is written, because it gets voted on already by the Utility Commission, it makes it a very difficult path forward in terms of timelines. I absolutely think that all questions are valid. I just think that if we are interested in having more of a say or potentially digging into the math, I think that the best way to do that is beforehand, because at this point, it would become very difficult for us to go backwards and change this rate schedule.
Comment, just real quick, so to that, is that we have,
Hold on a second. So, I agree on the questions. One of the things, we keep talking about the 300 to 400 to 450. The 450 was the average. Well, if he'd have used 400, we could have used that, but this, if you go back to the data that you're collecting, it's not about the volume of water, it's about the meter size. So whether somebody's using 300 cubic feet or 400 cubic feet or 450 or 700, it doesn't matter, they still have the same meter. So all residents have 5/8 inch meters. And that's what's being captured mostly, because that's what's going up. And then you have the usage goes up once you hit a certain threshold. So, Councilor Piazza, you have the floor.
I understand that, so they're the experts, obviously, so even like medically, you know, sometimes we don't get all the information. What we have are the facts, and then we make decisions. That's understandable, because they're making decisions, they're presenting information, they're discussing it, and it's not just for us to know, it's for our citizens to know. And, you know, and they should do their due diligence also, whether or not they know it or not. You know what it is, but I do remember asking at the meeting about the deduct meters, and it was kind of blurted out that, oh, that would cost even more, about $1,000. I have gotten a price on it, and it's nowhere near $1,000. And then when you capture what their price is gonna be, it's not $1,000. So I was kind of surprised that somebody just kind of blurted out $1,000, because that wasn't a correct fact. When I checked how much a meter would be, and also to place it in by a plumber, it doesn't even come near to that. So I just wanted to say that. Maybe I got a good price, but I'm just saying what I looked up, what I was told it would be pay for a meter and to have a plumber put it in permanently, it was not anywhere near $1,000. So I just wanted to, for FYI for people, so.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Councilor Norris?
I'm sure you guys went over this last week. Where do we fall in line with industry standards? Do we know?
Can we say we're like 27% below? What do you say? I mean, it was a,
Well, in terms of the pricing for the 5/8,
I believe Aaron said it was somewhere around there. I know he said it is difficult to try to find, because there are different methodologies for it, like with the town, they bill it, it's not on usage. So I know it's harder to find and comparable, but I believe it was definitely something like that.
thank you.
Deputy Mayor Depot?
It was 47%,
47%.
lower than similar neighboring utilities.
Okay.
Yep.
I
I
did
knew it
write
was a
that down.
7 in there, but, well, and I thought you might.
Thank
Any
you.
other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstention? So, motion fails because you gotta have 4 affirmative votes. And that means I will be bringing it back to council when I have more councilors. Because, I am not going to let the utility fall on its sword. If you have questions that you want to get answered at the next thing, please send them to me, and we will get those questions answered. And so that we can get you to where you're comfortable making a vote. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Can I just add that also every rate ordinance change, there's a public hearing where the public can come ask questions. I think it was on the November 13th.
Yes.
And we did get notice, and the public did get notice that there is a hearing, and that they're able to ask questions.
And would you like to know how many people attended that public hearing? 0. So, we did have a public hearing. All right, we'll move on. Councilor Sheffield, 156.
Yep. Resolution R-24-12-156. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council award Irene Ferrarone, owner of Pizzarama To Go, located at 344 Mitchell Street, Groton, Connecticut, 06340, the Economic Development Minor Facade Improvement Grant in the amount of $2,227.34. I so move.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed at the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions, motion carries. Councilor Norris, 157.
R-24-12-157, therefore be it resolved that the mayor and council authorize and approve the replication and replacement of woodworking and painting at the Zabriskie House by Lee Construction LLC, 59 Lake Shore Drive, Middlefield, Connecticut, for a total price of $497,000 and no cents, and a contingency of $47,700 and no cents, for a total expenditure not to exceed $546,700 and no cents, to be paid from the American Rescue Plan Act funds and capital funds. I so move.
Can you reread the contingency number?
Would you say the contingency number was?
No.
Okay.
Oh,
He did.
and 10% contingency of $47,700 and no cents.
49,700.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, $49,700 and no cents, for a total expenditure not to exceed $546,700 and no cents, to be paid from the American Rescue Plan Act funds and capital funds. I so move.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed at the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Councilor Piazza.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-24-12-158. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council provisionally authorize and approve a contract with the New England Recreation Group, P.O. Box 1503, Westboro, Massachusetts, for the purchase of and installation of new swings at Eastern Point Beach and Washington Park for the price of $58,773.85, with a 10% contingency of $5,877.39, for a total expenditure not to exceed $64,651.24, to be paid from the American Rescue Plan Act funds and capital funds. I so move.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed at the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Deputy Mayor Depot.
Thank you, Mayor. Resolution R-24-12-159. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council provisionally authorize and approve a contract with the New England Recreation Group, P.O. Box 1503, Westboro, Massachusetts, for the purchase of and installation of new outdoor fitness equipment at Washington Park for the price of $107,967.57, with a 10% contingency of $10,796.76, for a total expenditure not to exceed $118,764.33, to be paid from American Rescue Plan Act funds and capital funds. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This is discussed at the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Counselor Sheffield.
Resolution R-24-12-160. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the request a memorial bench at Griswold Point in the name of Joan Kanicki in accordance with the procedures for consideration of Beach and Parks memorials as approved by the mayor and council. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed during the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Counselor Norris.
Resolution 24-12-161. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the request for a memorial bench at Griswold Point in honor of Richard B. Kent in accordance with the procedures for consideration of beach and park memorials as approved by mayor and council. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed at the committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. Counselor Piazza.
Thank you, Mary. Mayor, sorry. Resolution -24-12-162. Therefore, be it resolved that the mayor and council approve the request memorial bench at the city municipal building in honor of Barbara Frucht in accordance with the procedures for consideration of beach and parks memorial as approved by the mayor and council. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. This was discussed at committee of the whole. Is there any additional discussion? Excuse me, Deputy Mayor Depot.
I don't remember if I said this in the last meeting, but I just want to encourage anyone, if you know someone that has a memorial bench and you're passing by, to take a photo and send it to them of the bench that they have for their loved one, because it's really fun to get those photos, and it's nice for people to visit your bench. So once these go up, if you know a family member, it's a nice thing to do. And just to sit at their bench and enjoy it, because all of the benches are in nice spots to see something, usually the ocean, or, well, the sound.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstention, motion carries. We are adjourned. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.